Hello, hello, Gio.
Hey, Philip, great to be here again. Another episode. Here we are. And yeah, ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. For today, we have prepared interesting topic. It's how to start the agency in terms of resources and organization. So, generally speaking, no matter people are starting as the solopreneurs or they have not only the perspective but opportunity to employ people. Generally speaking, the organization should be kind of more leaner and systematic. The point is to cover the respectable fields in terms of expertise, what you can cover. And for the rest of activities, I always suggest to people who are starting the agency to engage with professionals, freelancers who can help and support in their respectable niches and help deploy entire project. Because quite often you'll see on the market, people are looking forward to the first case scenario and opportunity to employ somebody. But it is very important to be financially stable. And if you're already going for the employment, you want to take additional resource into your company, you need to be prepared for it. Or from the organization perspective and financially, meaning I'm always suggesting to people that they need to have at least 12 months in advance covered finance before they're taking additional colleague inside the company. And by that, I mean 12 months coverage in full, no matter other obligations. So any switch change or a specific situation in company doesn't impact from financial perspective on that specific job role. What are your thoughts about it and experience?
No, yeah, I think this is a great topic, Philip, because when we talk about resource management or resource organization, I think it's one of these topics that is kind of left to the side
Mhm.
because everybody wants to get into the other stuff like sales and marketing and those type of strategies. But then as you scale, you start to realize how important the aspect of being organized with your resources and learning how to delegate, right, also becomes very important, right? Because when your agency is smaller, then usually you don't need to do a lot of planning, right? When you're like in that solopreneur role, you can actually, you can actually grow. And as you grow, you're sort of like ad hoc, right? You're creating solutions on the go. You're able to adjust uh on the go, and it's a bit easier. But as you scale and grow, you start to add more pieces to everything. So you have the middle managers, you have your project managers, then you start to have the account executives. Then it starts to become more about planning, and that's a big part, I believe, of resource management is that planning phase, because that planning phase helps you get your resources in order, helps you establish objectives, helps you plan so that you can plan to succeed. Because if you don't plan, then you're basically setting yourself up for a lot of headaches. And that's why I think resource management is important, and planning is a big part of that, right? Having an annual plan, having a quarterly plan, like you said, having resources out to 12 months, uh, understanding all those details so that you're prepared, because you never know, right? In business, everything may go well now, and then all of a sudden you could lose two, three, four clients. I mean, it happened back in the pandemic, right? When it first happened, a lot of companies were impacted depending on the industry you were focused on. So yeah, I definitely think resource manager is a crucial, because it helps you prepare for those times, and it also helps you prepare to scale and to grow effectively. So that's why I think this topic that we're talking about today will be crucial for a lot of people, specifically agency owners who are in that process of scaling and understanding resource management, delegation, and annual and quarterly planning.
Yeah, a good point. And also directly connected to that is what I'm always emphasizing in conversation with the colleagues, and that are standard operating procedures. They're not only there to have the administration covered and that you can say, okay, this is being done and we are prepared. The point is that you set up entire ecosystem which can help you and support you from organization perspective to grow. So no matter you are a one-man band, two-man band, three-man band, or have dozens of employees and similar, that you are able to scale entire process accordingly, so it doesn't impact the operations and, what is most important, the service level quality. That is what is happening generally. I know from the experience of knowing a lot of people who were scaling their business. Some of them had the exponential growth. Some of them have kind of almost a natural one. But for example, from 2 or 3 employees to 7 or 10 to 20 to 30, without standard operating procedures, without set up processes and organization, as you mentioned, bad things can happen. They can onboard new clients. Everything is cool. Cash flow is amazing. Everything is fine. But organization has major flaws because they haven't been prepared to do so, to onboard 5 new clients, 7 new clients, and similar stuff. And that is something which you can quite often see even with companies for which you perceive as well organized, but only from outside. But actually, when you dig deeper or you know them, how they're actually operating inside, that is something completely else.
No, and I think you make some really great points there, and specifically on the resource management, I think we also have to touch on the point that from experience, I know that if you're looking to, like, for example, let's just say you want to double or triple your revenue, right? And we're talking about managing your resources effectively. That means that if you're doubling or tripling your revenue, or that's your plan, then, for example, the details, like you understanding that most likely you'll have to make adjustments on a monthly basis versus like a quarterly basis. That's important, right? So that's why the planning phase, you're better over planning than under planning, especially with resources, right? It's better for you to over plan, and not, when I say over plan, it's not you're investing more time in planning, because you don't want to over invest your time. What we're saying is when you do plan effectively and over plan. Think about all the different details and don't leave it for the last minute, right? Plan accordingly ahead of time so you can effectively plan it out, look through all of the different possibilities, look at the objectives you want to achieve, and then according to that, you can over plan and prepare yourself the best you can for anything that may happen along the way that's unexpected, because it's going to happen. You're going to get unexpected things along the way. But if you over plan and you really manage your resources, you delegate correctly, then you'll have a lot easier time when you do start to scale and all these different things start to happen quickly. You're able to really adjust to those changes. You're able to adjust accordingly and effectively. So I think planning is essential, and also when you plan, learning what resources to focus on. That's another big thing, right? Like understanding that you should focus on the things that are important for your goals for the rest of the year, but then understand, okay, what is not important for me to focus on, so you don't get sort of that shiny object syndrome on the way to what you want to do, because that happens a lot. I mean, it's happened to me before, right? And sometimes you got to realize and remember, like, okay, this was the plan. This is what we already talked about. This was the focus. We've already planned it out. We've already delegated. Let's stick to the plan. Let's focus on what's important for the goals now, the quarterly goal, the yearly goal. Not think about next year, not think about what might happen. No. Let's stick to the plan and focus on the right things and learn what not to focus on. I think that's important as well when it comes to like the resource management part.
Absolutely. You said an amazing thing, and that is practically being consistent. If you have already set up the plan, play by the rules, according to the rules, and follow. deliver, and that's it. Because what is generally happening in entrepreneurship, as I said, shiny objects are everywhere. So you get a new idea, something what you find pretty much cool and similar, but without adequate resources, you cannot extend to maybe expand their service scope and similar stuff. You always need to take care of being fully covered in terms of staff, resources, and be able to deliver the service. What I see very often with agencies is the problem in setting up entire scenario and employing or engaging with additional resources inside the company in terms of activities. It happens that sometimes companies take more of some respectable specialty field than they actually need, and then they are trying to find new clients for that respectable realm, which is not necessarily their primary focus. I saw that way too many times. I have one of the colleagues who did that in the development. The other one did it with content creators and copywriters. The third one did it with designers, and it can be pretty much crazy, as I said. So plan in advance, and if you're already taking an engagement with more resources, employing people, you need to have full coverage for it and a reason to do so, not just making piling up new resources, new stuff, and whatever, just because of potential future, because future in that specific case and scenario doesn't exist before you sign the contract and the money is in the bank. At least I am doing it. I'm doing things according to that, because the problem is the contract, everything is cool, but nothing happened until it is being done and confirmed in all possible aspects, financially, from the organization perspective, and everything else.
No, exactly. No, and I think to sum up, to conclude my point, I think, like you said, is basically planning, delegating, understanding your objectives and what you want to accomplish with your agency. I think that's important, right? Because, for example, in my case, I've decided that in my particular case, my consulting practice, I want to keep it to a very specific group of people. But that's a decision I made, right? Because I want to be able to manage my time in a specific way, and I had specific goals. But you have to also understand, if you want to take your agency to like a big level, right? The bigger you want your agency to be, the more planning you have to take into consideration, the more planning with resource management, the more planning for quarterly, annual, that it all becomes more complex as you scale larger and larger. Why? Because you start to add more layers to the company. You start to add more people, you start to add more processes and systems to make sure everything flows, because as you get bigger, that's what's required. So I think you have to think of it like that. You have to think of it as like when you're like in a big cruise, right? When you're in a cruise ship compared to like a yacht, right? The cruise ship, it turns very slowly. Yeah. Right. You could try to go in another direction, but since it's very big, it has a big capacity to have a lot of fun and have a lot of people on there, but its movement is very slow because of that. So it's the same thing with the agency. You have a lot of capacity, you have a lot of people you can serve because it's big, but when you want to move, you have to plan because it's going to be slower, right? It has a lot more going on, and you have to take all of that into consideration. So it's more complex. And I think that's something that agency owners have to take into consideration and understand, that the resource management and the planning is going to be crucial. Understanding your goals and then planning ahead of time, and trying not to procrastinate, I think is going to be a big factor. And that's why having the right people that can help you get things in order, help you plan, help you set specific goals, and help you move in the right directions, that's also going to be important when you're in that phase as well. Because you don't know what you don't know. and that's important. So if you have the right people, the right team, and you're planning accordingly, you can have a lot of success. But that's a crucial part. We have to keep that in mind when we're talking about this conversation. So yeah, those are my like my closing statement on that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, great. I confirm everything. I agree with everything. I will be just adding on one thing that simply due to my experience in various industries and niches, one thing is a fact. The machinery and the company doesn't need to be big to do great stuff and great projects. Do what you do best, pay for the rest. So you can have a small team, an amazing one with adequate people, adequate resources, delivering crazy stuff. In the same time, take additional resources as external ones, contractors, freelancers, and similar, which can help you and support entire machinery in the system and deploy top-notch solution. Don't hurry in terms of the employment and onboarding new people. One step at a time. That is my conclusion for today.
One step at a time, one step at a time, and a firm step each time, and you're good. Yep.
Awesome, awesome. It was a great conversation, like always. Gio, thank you very much for your time, and yeah, catching up soon.
Of course, Philip. It's always a pleasure, man. Every week. Love it.
Likewise. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.